Hi there. This is Jean Roman with For Dragonflies and Me. Thanks so much for joining me at this week's podcast. As always, I'm super excited to be here sharing gardening, cooking, organizational tips and tricks, discussions on healthy lifestyles, and of course, having incredible conversations with entrepreneurs. Each week, I love to start out with how I met my guest, and of course, today is no different. Some of you listening today may remember my premier podcast guest, Mr. Tim Travis, owner of Goldner Walsh Garden and Home. Well, as I mentioned in one of my podcasts last month, Tim hosted a lovely artist market last December in one of his event greenhouses. To say the least, it was delightful. But when you mix food with shopping, what more can a gal ask for? The market showcased several local artisans selling their wares, along with some yummy foodies. To say the least, I was in a bit of heaven on earth, my favorite things all in one stop. I, of course, was hoping to meet some super cool people to be guests on my upcoming podcast episodes, and I was not disappointed. I met this super energetic gal with crazy cool art ranging from notepads, greeting cards, pens, and original art. And that is where I met today's guest. Please let me introduce Victoria O'Brien, owner and designer of Draft Paper Company. Welcome, Victoria.
Thanks, Jean, for having me.
Uh,
I'm glad I come across to you as energetic because I don't.
well,
I
we're
don't always say
recording this in the morning, Victoria, so it's okay. I've already had a cup and a half of coffee.
that.
But
I didn't get
yeah,
mine
no,
today.
I'm super thrilled to have you here. Victoria, I really enjoyed our initial phone conversation to discuss the direction this podcast would take. I felt a quick connection to you as we both have had some similar encounters with dragonflies and them being our totems. But our conversation was very engaging, and I knew we would have a fun time with this podcast. But I loved your story of how you decided to start Draft Paper Company. Can you tell my listeners what prompted you to take the initial step to start your company?
Yeah, so I've always known that I was going to do something with art or design or creating. It's the most consistent thing in my life since I was a kid. And I've always created, whether I realized that's what I was doing or not, I was always creating something. So I knew that that would be part of my life going forward. And then, as a kid, growing up, we didn't have a ton of money, but I always noticed the people that I met that were really successful were often business owners. And so I told myself that I would definitely be a business owner at some point. So it's been a kind of a lifelong dream of mine. And I went to art school, and out of college, I started working at an ad agency, um, and really kind of cut my chops and, you know, learned quite a bit after almost I've got over a decade in advertising now.
Wow, that's
But
awesome.
I started to feel a little bit of burnout. So I had read this article from the New School, um and which is a really good designer resource, NUSCHOOL. And there was an article by Shana Hodkin who actually mentioned another writer, Gunter Knert, who, um, in his story Why I Write, talked about how a lot of creatives arrive at their careers because they're unable to do anything else. Not unable in the sense of incapable, but unable in the sense of unwilling, borderline non-compliant, able to do, but unable to participate or engage. And so that's a direct quote from that. And it really resonated with me. So I kind of hit that burnout and also this wall in moving forward with
Yeah.
advertising. And so, I just felt like, and greeting cards specifically have always been something that I have loved, and print and stationery. So it just, it felt like the next step. I had been freelancing wedding invitations for a couple years, and really wanted to do something that I could have kind of ready to go and ready to purchase, and um not necessarily just bespoke products for weddings and things. So
Okay.
yeah, and then I went to a really great, like, she's a life coach, a career coach in Ann Arbor. Her name is Eva Newhouse. And we really kind of like started from step one and said, what is it that I can do? This is before I was totally sold on the idea of greeting cards. And we
Okay.
went through, what is it I can do? What is it that I like to do? What am I good at? And how do these things combine? And then I really worked with her very regularly. Um, Even for the littlest things, there were days that she helped me get out of bed and just get my day started. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it was really great. What a great resource. She's amazing. And then I really just kind of started everything very small. So, um, I think with me specifically and the anxiety, I'll start to swirl and spiral if I start too large. So it's really baby steps for me. And that's that's my biggest takeaway.
Well, I can totally understand the anxiety. I'm going to get into that a little bit later on in the podcast, but I can relate to that. I feel pretty confident about myself most of the time, but every now and then I look and I'm like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Is it going to work? And I'm sure, every entrepreneur out there goes through that at some stage, if not the entire stage of their career. But, Victoria, you mentioned Ann Arbor and Eva Newhouse, your life coach. I would really love to connect with her and, talk to her about maybe being a podcast guest. I think that'd be super cool. But, you also work
Oh,
full.
she's amazing.
Yeah, Victoria, you also work full time for the University of Michigan. And I feel safe in saying many of my listeners may be at the same stage of their business as you are. Can you share with my listeners how you balance your work responsibilities with your growing business?
Yeah, so I am a senior art director. Like I said, for a little over a decade now. It's a busy role. There is a lot going on at any given time. Working for the university is really amazing. They're a really amazing organization, and the benefits are you just they're good. They're
Hard to
great.
walk away from.
Yeah, I think they call them the golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
But and I'm on a really great team with really amazing people. And it isn't even my only other job. I have a couple income sources. So I my brother has a private practice and I do his medical invoicing for
Oh
his
my gosh.
patients. Yeah, so it's like kind of all over the place. As well as, occasional freelance, but it's a little rare nowadays. And so yeah, it's busy. And it's a lot of nights and weekends. And um I sometimes though I take vacation days depending on what's going on for my day job so that I can do work with um Draft Paper Co. And if I'm going to live events or things like that, I've been known to take a day off so that I can get to these events. But
Yeah, reasonably so.
right. But it is a lot of extra kind of nights and weekends work. For a little while I was kind of just, I guess, talking to myself, but telling myself it was like, oh, there's like really no days off here, huh? And but I do though some days just turn off altogether. Like some days I it is too much, too many things. And having come back from previous burnout, my real focus is like sometimes you can't have, like, I feel the best when I'm productive during a day, when I knock off my to-do list and every little checkbox is crossed. But I have had to learn that if my body says to me, I want to stay in bed all day and I can do that, then I do that.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
um, yeah. So, and then, I think the thing that really, I listen to a lot of things to motivate myself to either conquer the imposter syndrome, or to even just really conquer the anxiety that kind of comes with, because I'll be like living my life totally fine. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, but wait, Victoria, if you become a major company, you're going to have to get health insurance for your employees. I don't have employees. Like, there's no reason that at this point I need to go down the rabbit hole of like, will I one day make enough money to, you know what I mean, to support in health insurance? No, I can't even pay for my own health insurance right now. Like, I shouldn't even be.
Yeah,
So,
but it's
um,
those fears that, sometimes, like you said, the anxiety that can kind of take over. And but
yeah.
when you can listen to other motivational things, to kind of use it as a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block, right?
Right. And just like really learning from what other people have said. And I actually listen to a lot of Steve Harvey.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
he's got really amazing motivation. And I mean, first of all, there's good motivation kind of everywhere if you look around, but there's just so many things, and that's what I really try to consume is um things that are kind of like positively like lulling me into a sense of I can do it, it's gonna be fine. And if I can't, it's almost like you got to be a little crazy to start it. You have to know that there's going to be hard work, but you can't know how much hard work there's going to be because then, at least if you're me, you never would. Um, and I originally, when I was debating about, okay, what do I do? Do I continue in advertising? Do I finally pursue this dream? What do I do? I was so scared of all this hard work that it was going to be. And, you know, I I was just like, oh my God, I'm burnt out. I don't want to do late nights anymore. I don't want to work all weekend anymore. And then I kind of took stock of what I was doing in my life. And I was like, you're already doing really hard work. So you could
Hmm.
just refocus that hard work and, you know, your your priorities and put it into something that is, personally beneficial all the way. And I don't have as much difficulty motivating myself for this because I love every part of it. I mean,
Aw.
yeah, I don't love having to post on social media, to be clear. I'm over here trying to
But we
figure
got
out
you.
TikTok. Like, it's
Oh
a
boy.
lot. But
It is.
yeah, you know what I mean? But it's something that I'm doing, like, at the end of the day, all of the reasons to do it are mine. So
Mhm.
it's a lot easier to do it in
Yeah.
that.
No, I get it. I totally get it. I think there are many people in the same situation like this, with a foot on both sides of the fence, and that balance I personally understand as well. Now that I've retired from my day job, I feel kind of a different kind of pressure. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it's like, oh my God, I got to make this work. This has got to work, and, that anxiety. But, you talked about, finding those positive influences. And, I had been doing this crazy diet and, several years ago,
Oh,
and it
yeah.
had like this mantra, right? I know. And it's like, who hasn't done a crazy diet?
Oh, so many, all of them. I've
Yeah,
done them
right,
all.
exactly. But, part of the routine of that diet was doing a daily mantra. And it said, create 3 statements about yourself. And so the 3 that I created was, I am powerful. I can accomplish anything I set my mind to do. And I will be successful. And every
Mhm.
day I looked in the mirror and I said that. And through that diet, it really worked. But I have taken those statements, that mantra, and started them as a part of my daily routine. And telling myself, no, you got this. You're going to be able to do this. And you know, thinking about those long-term goals, right? And that's kind of what I'd like for you to talk on next. What are your long-term goals for Draft Paper Company, and how do you see yourself getting to that point?
Yeah, so it's funny that you mention these mantras because I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but this is this is my
That's okay.
answer here. Um and I first of all, how powerful is it the way that we speak to ourselves?
Self-talk. Oh my God. It can build you up or tear you down.
Oh, exactly. And it's kind of like, I know that this is a really common and sort of overused story, but the story of the man talks about the two wolves living inside of you and they're
Hmm.
fighting, and one is this sort of benevolent, and the other is sort of this really negative and violent
Hmm.
wolf. And the kid asks the father, but which wolf will win? And he says, it's the one that you feed.
Yes.
So yeah, so feed the, like, and I don't I think we all kind of grew up with a little bit of some of that negative stuff, and just really learning how to teach yourself how to not jump to that space. And I did have to realize, once I worked with Eva and got life coaching from her, it made me sit back and realize that the things that I was scared about, while they matter, don't really matter because I'm so resourceful.
Hmm.
I will find help when I need help, and um, and I think so, it just made me think about it kind of became my mantra. Like, I had to, anytime I got a little bit worried, I had to remind myself that I won't end up the creek without the paddle, because I'm resourceful and I will make a paddle, or I'll phone a friend who knows how to make a paddle, or
Hmm.
whatever, we'll get there. So um yeah, so I think, my long-term goals for draft, while I fully expect them to change as I grow and learn more.
Hmm.
Um, Currently, it's a little scary to say it officially, but and out loud on an official recording.
Just
Um,
say it.
right. But I'm a big fan of Rifle Paper Co. And I mean, they have these gorgeous designs and they're very recognizable, floral, and they make all gorgeous kinds of things, stationery, and they have cards, but they have phone cases, and they make shoes now, and just like really cool, notepads and recipe cards and things like that.
Oh,
And
super cool.
they're things that I've, yeah, just really adorable, and things that I've loved. And my designer friends and I, you know what I mean, we'll be looking at each other's thing and then we'll be like, oh, is that a rifle? Is that a rifle paper company? Whatever. And of course it is, and we love it. And it's but I just really love that brand. And actually a few years ago, it was like my dream job was like listed on Rifle Paper Company's site. And it was in Manhattan. So there was that, but I would not mind moving.
Oh
And
yeah. That'd be
I
so cool.
I was just looking at this posting, and I would look at it all the time, and I never applied for it because it was so much the thing that I wanted, that the idea of failing the thing that I
Oh,
wanted is,
yes. Oh.
I
Well, I
couldn't.
truly believe everything happens for a reason. And if and when the time comes for you to be a part of that, it will happen. But, maybe it was just the motivating factor to drive you to start your own company and be more as or more successful.
Right. And that's, so that kind of is the goal, is to be Detroit's own version, so Draft Paper Co. obviously is Detroit, and I've had such an affinity for the city of Detroit my entire life. I grew up here and I moved around a little bit within Michigan, but now I'm back in Detroit. And there's just such a great artist community, and
Hmm.
such a great, it's kind of this energy that's really always been in this city. And it's, just absolutely one of my favorites. And I'm kind of getting involved in these artist groups and things, so it's really,
Very cool.
remotivating me to kind of to be here with my art too. So yeah, I think maybe, even though New York would have been wonderful, and I have family in New York, I love spending time in New York, but maybe maybe it was time for me to, kind of spread my wings here and make that a reality. um so I'm willing to let it be whatever it is, but that was the initial goal. It's a slow journey.
Slow
And
and steady. There's nothing wrong with that.
yeah, exactly. And you know what, again, not to get too fine on the Steve Harvey point, but he has, he has this really great video where he said, do something and earn $10. And then after that, repeat that same thing, that $10 thing until you have 100. Do that until you have 1,000.
Yeah,
Do that until you have 10,000. You know what I
that's
mean? So
awesome.
really it is just plugging away and doing the same thing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. And you know, just getting getting started, really. Just getting, and I always have to tell myself, like, and part of why I named my company Draft, I mean, come on, like, Victoria, listen to yourself, is, you
Oh, that's
know, that
awesome.
we're not the final version of ourselves, and just because I put out this company doesn't mean it's the final version of the company either, or this wholesale catalog I'm working on, it's not the final iteration of what this catalog will end up being. It's just right now it's just a draft, and that's fine. And that's, that's actually where draft comes from, the name, I'm
I
not the
love
final
that.
version.
Oh my God, I love
Yeah.
that. I'm writing this down.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no,
Yeah,
I wrote a manifesto
oh my
and
gosh, that's so cool.
everything. Yeah, just to, to get myself into the idea. And really the idea of draft is that we don't have to be the final versions of ourselves. We just have to show up as whatever draft we are right now.
Yeah.
And we don't have to be perfect. We just have to show up. So that is literally um yeah, that's actually kind of where my business name, and I wasn't even necessarily planning on talking about that, but it so
Oh, I'm
naturally
so
fits
glad you
in.
did. I'm so glad you did. There's such a deep, deep um feeling there. Oh my gosh, it's really stirs this emotion because you're right. Each stage of our life, I'm 53 now, and oh my gosh, where I was when I was 23 and 33 and 43 are so different. And it's like I just love, you know, I love that thought process that you have. And I recently retired from my day job, as I mentioned earlier, and I took that leap of faith and am now focusing on my dragonfly endeavors along with writing my second cookbook. I also have another company, Food Trucks to You, now going into its third year. And like I got a couple burners in the fire, pokers in the fire. But I came to the point where I knew if I didn't give my business ventures my full attention, they would never reach their full potential. And taking your concept of being in draft, they're in drafts too. And I was thankfully in a financial position to where I was able to take a year off to focus on doing just that, growing my businesses. And I feel really fortunate. I know not everybody has the ability to do so. But, can you tell my listeners a bit about the steps you have taken and are looking for into potential small business grants and loans? Where are you at with that?
Yeah, so first of all, it's awesome that were able to leave your day job and
Thank
follow
you.
these other things. That's like, oh my God, it's such life goals for me.
Yeah, well,
So I'm just over here like jealous, drooling. But I know, right? That comes, like you said, with its own new set of anxieties. So
yes,
enjoying the stage that I'm in at this moment.
that's right. Well, baby
But
steps.
yeah, really, honestly, small, tiny bites is really all I can handle.
That's okay.
Um, so yeah, as far as finances go, I'm just really in the initial phases of researching just to see what's out there as far as grants or loans. So there hasn't been too much yet, other than me and my personal bank account and my credit card.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise I'm trying to kind of invest my money carefully, spend again slowly, just baby steps,
Hmm.
really with everything. I took a class not that long ago to try to get myself into the wholesale market with, so kind of learn. So that was quite that was quite an investment. So
Okay.
yeah, so I'm kind of just at the beginning. I've started researching local Detroit area, organizations and grants, and even, for women-owned companies
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
just kind of things. And then I know obviously you've also kind of started to hook me up with people too, which is amazing. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I knew this dragonfly lady was gonna do good things for my life.
Well, I'm so happy I was able to put you in connection with Aisha Maxwell from Access. She's actually one of my podcast guests here as well, and I'm sure that will be a real blessing for you. You'll definitely have to keep me posted with how things are going and update me on that. But Victoria, we met at the Goldner Walsh Garden and Home Artist Market. Tell my listeners, what other events and venues do you participate in? Maybe where can they find you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I do a lot of like local events in the Metro Detroit area. I've gone as far as Columbus.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, which was really fun. I did the Women's Motor Fest. So that's like a women kind of run, and it's attended by men and women as well, but um they do, like, you bring your car, your motorcycle if you're a woman, and it's an auto show,
Very cool.
specifically. Yeah, so it's really cool. So I'm hoping I can do that again. A friend of mine runs it. It's really amazing.
Awesome. Oh, again, put me in connection with her as well.
Oh my gosh, well, she's amazing. Her name is Trish, and she runs My Little Needle Tattoos in Old Town Plymouth,
Oh,
and they also do an event. They In the spring, there's kind of a tattoo in the tattoo industry. They do this event called Still Not Asking for It, and it is a charity event that benefits typically women's and children's services. And it's based on this idea of no means no, and it's kind of like you know, a rape awareness, and just kind of, it's just a really good event to be part of. The tattooers raise a bunch of money, and I've gone there the last 2 years now, and just kind of was a vendor just to keep the masses of people kind of occupied. But it's really, Trish is an amazing person, and My Little Needle Tattoo is just a great tattoo shop, but a really inclusive environment, a really safe environment.
that's
And they do
awesome.
this event every year, so that's really important to me. So I will be there as long as they have me. Um, and then yeah, so there's a lot of things like in Old Town Plymouth. Also, Studio New puts on events. They're a really great little studio space, and they put on events with vendors kind of quarterly almost, it seems like.
Oh,
So
very cool.
yeah, they're great. A really good friend of mine owns Bool, which is a bakery, like an all natural European style bakery in downtown Plymouth. So I have a couple cards stuck in there, but it's she's really great. And
Awesome.
then the biggest place I think that you can kind of find me is Frameworks, also in downtown Plymouth. And they actually have nobody has anything other than my greeting cards, but they have my greeting cards, my stickers, and they have art prints as well.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, I love Plymouth. I'm gonna have to visit them. I'm taking notes as we speak.
Oh my gosh, Frameworks is great, and Cindy's awesome. And really, I mean, I used to live in downtown Plymouth, so that's why I have so many connections there, and all these places were walking distance from my house. So
Cool.
so now I've kind of just attached myself to these people. But um now where I'm at in Detroit, there's a really awesome art studio here called Design Studio 6. And April runs that, and she's really amazing. And I sometimes do events with her. I think she has a couple of my cards too. And then Paisley Bee in Detroit is this tiny little shop run by Chelsea. And she has a couple of my cards there too. So those are kind of where you can find me around. But specifically, I'm going to be at the Eastern Market Spring pop-up shop um, at Shed 3 in Eastern Market in Detroit. And that's April 23rd. So
Ooh, I will be there. I actually saw that in the notes when you sent them to me, and I have already put that in my calendar. So you will definitely be able to see me there. And
yeah.
so super excited. When my son and I met you at the Goldner Walsh event, my son and I both loved your products. My son loves
Oh my
stickers and I
God.
love stickers. And after visiting your Etsy shop, all I can say is wow. You have a really great selection of greeting cards there, and your customers have got some really incredible reviews for you as well. But at the holiday market, you had oodles, like you were saying, of notepad, stickers, pencils, and your original artwork, which my son and I were lucky enough to snag a few. So thank you for sharing with my listeners where they can find those. But I would also like you to tell my listeners a little bit about your Etsy shop.
Yeah, so yeah, right now my entire website is kind of run through Etsy as I'm getting started. And so I make, a line of, it's really just from my brain. And
Well,
that's a very sassy little place. So
I personally love it. You're totally my style.
thank you. Yes. I think I have a relatable humor, but it's maybe not for everybody. Um
That's okay.
and I I mean some of it I'm kind of like, if there are kids walking by, there are some some things that I immediately shout out warnings to the parents, like, please have swear words on them, please don't look hard. Like
I'm kind of a
uh
liberal mom. I realize life is real, so we try to keep it real at my house. So I had a great appreciation for your your sassiness.
yeah, I appreciate that. um yeah, and I mean, I really, yeah, kind of with that in mind, I feel like I make greeting cards for the rest of us, and no shade to any other greeting card company because they all have value.
Oh yeah,
But
for sure. There's
yeah,
different styles. You go to any store and there's all different kinds of greeting cards, and each, person, your greeting cards are a reflection of you. And that's what you want to be. You want to be real to yourself, in my opinion, as an artist. Being able to create your own line, I think is the greatest gift to yourself, because your work is your reflection of you. But I'm sorry, you and I could just chat it
no.
on for
Oh
a
my
long
gosh.
time, I think.
No, that's so accurate. And then the irony is that now that I create greeting cards, I never send out any of my own. So,
Perfect.
but
I'm gonna
they're
give you my
perfect.
birthday and I expect one.
Right, exactly. I have a little tiny stack of Christmas cards right next to me right now that haven't been sent or addressed. So
Too
just
funny.
so we know. But um but yeah, so that being said, I mean, I think I kind of create this niche, like, other little category of greeting cards with things that you haven't necessarily seen. And my personal tagline that I give to it is greeting cards for the rest of us.
I love it. I love it.
It's great. It's because, and I very specifically try to be inclusive with my cards
Sure.
and bring in cards that people maybe haven't seen. And I'm part of the, LGBTQ plus, community
Awesome.
myself. And I, have many friends that are as well. And over the years have not always been able to find the cards that I want to,
Yeah,
yeah, give them, and just with the sentiment. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be so specific, but just something that's maybe a little bit more general that could work for things. So,
absolutely.
um, yeah, so,
No, I love that.
necessary. And, there's, um, I don't know. I just kind of I look at friends, and I'm a weirdo and I have a lot of weirdo friends. And I just think, where has the world left us behind?
Aw.
As
No,
far as
actually,
greeting cards.
I have another podcast guest that I met at those leadership lead hership conferences that I was telling you about, and it's Marisil Cards, and she is an Arab American woman, and she felt the same way. She was like, "Where are the greeting cards for my people, my
Right.
culture?" And that's what she did. She was actually a biology teacher, got pregnant with twins, and was like, "Wow, what am I going to do?" And she started her greeting line card company. And so for the same things, it's
And
like not everything fits in a box, and I hate um when people try to put everybody in the same box. We are all different. We're all unique human beings. And, with that being said, Dragonfly friends, I think you're going to love Victoria's line. And there are several holidays right around the corner, along with summer weddings and grad parties for that special person. So be prepared for something unique, quirky, and a little sassy when you visit Victoria's line. It is not your run of the mill. It is really something special. And I love your tagline, Victoria. So, Victoria, wrapping this up, I just want you to mention a little bit about, you create original pieces for clients as well. And I think you mentioned that in the early part of the podcast. But tell my listeners maybe a little specifically, what services you provide and how they can secure them with you.
Yeah, so most recently, I do custom wedding invitations, and or invitations in general, I should say, but most of them are wedding and beautiful and gold foil, or if
Mm,
anybody wants me to do a letterpress invitation, I live for that. So
nice, nice.
amazing. And I actually also, as part of that, I create like logos for couples. So
Oh,
wedding logos. And I do logo creation for businesses, like small business logo creation, or I mean even large businesses, I guess. Um
yeah.
but the wedding logos are actually, they're just so much fun. And I usually try to incorporate the initial of each person's first name, and then the last initial, like if they're taking a family name. And so I've just got some really cool ones that I've done. I probably have like maybe a dozen examples of those, and they're so much fun. I like to create those a lot. So but that's something that if you're interested in getting some custom design work done, you can reach out to me on Gmail at draftpaperco@gmail.com, or even send a message, through my website, which is draftpaper.co, and then social media, also Draft Paper Co.
Very cool. That's
Yeah.
so cool. I love that. Victoria, I'm going to need you to send me some photos of that so my Dragonfly listeners can see those. I'm going to be doing a blog and sharing that stuff. But, thanks so much for joining me today, everybody. And thank you, Victoria, for sharing your story with my listeners. I really feel it's so inspirational. Thank you.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun to do this, and so much fun getting to talk to you and meet you, and just, it's really motivating for me to like hear your story too. And I think
Aw.
there's this, yeah, this like, camaraderie. I think especially, not to exclude anybody, but really just with women, I
Oh,
think that,
yeah.
you know, when I see another woman doing something, it's not even this competitive thing, but I just think, you know what? Like if she can do it, like I could do it.
Absolutely. Girl power. We have to support one another. And that's kind of goes into my final spiel here for the podcast. But I'm sure some of you listening today may be balancing both a day job's responsibilities while you try to grow your business. And it can definitely be tough. Or maybe some of you listening are dreaming of making your hobby into a business. And my goal here at For Dragonflies and Me podcasts, when I do these entrepreneurial conversations, I want you to be inspired. And I hope Victoria's story has inspired you to, maybe take that leap of faith just to start, just to take those baby steps like she is. And also, if you are in the Southeast Michigan area, please stop by and check out my podcast on March 1st with Aisha Maxwell of Access. We're celebrating Women's Month with that podcast. You can find the link at my blog as well. Access provides free mentoring and business coaching along with several other services. But again, to learn more about Draft Paper Co., you can go to my blog at fordragonfliesandme.com, and of course at Victoria's Draft Paper Co. website, and follow her on IG and TikTok at Draft Paper Co. Thank you again. Please follow me here at my blog at fordragonfliesandme.com. And if you haven't visited me on Facebook, please like and follow me there for daily inspiration, recipes, and gorgeous photos. Thank you so much, Victoria.
Yeah, thank you.
Until next time, friends, happy day.
Bye.